time for you to meet Wednesday's panel today, and they've sort of assembled a group of people that either have a science background or are interested in science. Maggie Connor, who you've heard before on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. And I mean, your sort of background is in engineering, really, isn't it?
Yes, I grew up playing with engines, and I'm a frustrated engineer because when I went to school, there was no science. I'm of that age. I went to a high school with no science, can you believe? And so I've had to do it all myself, but I have that kind of brain that wants to know how things work. And for all my life, I've been trying to be instrumental in getting women into engineering. They're very good with small engines like chainsaws and stuff. Women have the right kind of hands to do the ball bearings and the little roller bearings and bits. So I've tried to get women interested, but it is not easy.
And well, that's actually one of the things we will talk about this morning between now and 11:30. Nice to see you again, Maggie.
Do
you attend the Science Festival in Cheltenham?
Oh, I do, yes.
Yeah. Have you got anything penciled in for this year?
Yes and no. I mean, I was intending to go all day yesterday around the free bits, but because I've got a problem with walking at the moment, so I didn't get there, but I'm hoping if I'm better today, I'm going to get there. I love it. Absolutely love it.
That's good to hear. Also with us in the studio is Vivian Blick. Now, Vivian is an inventor. He also runs a company called Tango, and you may remember him because not so long ago, he was on BBC Radio Gloucestershire talking about his latest product, which is a shower-powered radio. Lovely to see you again, Vivian.
Morning, Chris.
You also worked on the original wind-up radio with Trevor Bayliss, didn't you?
I did indeed. So my interest is really with inventors and inventing and turning those ideas into commercial reality.
And tell us how the product's going, because it was launched not so long ago.
Yeah, we launched it basically last time I was on the show, and it's done very, very well in the UK. And even more importantly, our export business is running at about 50% of our domestic business. So we're actually helping our beleaguered British economy at the moment by exporting as much as we're selling locally in the UK.
And for people who didn't hear this when you first came on, it's something that attaches to an existing shower. The power of the water going through runs a little turbine, which then powers the radio.
Yeah, that's right, because this is sort of groundbreaking in terms of the way that you think about using energy. So that water which you've paid for and the power to get it to you've paid for is going down the drain. What we're doing is capturing it on the way through, in line with the shower, just connect it in line with the shower hose, and we're using that energy to drive a micro turbine, which drives a small generator, creates electricity, runs the radio. Slightly frivolous, slightly fun, but the idea is that it's making people think as well as entertaining you.
Yeah, and if you've bought one of these, let us know this morning if you've got one working.
Well, that's quite easy. I can make a quick plug. If you go to www.tangogroup.net, it's available there.
Maggie wants one.
I do.
Also, a special welcome to Russell Foster today to BBC Radio Gloucestershire. He's chair of the Science Festival Advisory Group, and he's also Professor of Biomedics at Oxford. Good morning to you.
Morning, Chris.
Thanks for coming in. And I know you're passionate about getting everybody interested in science, really, and making it accessible to people.
Well, absolutely. I mean, my day job is a neuroscientist at Oxford. I mean, I'm interested in how body clocks are generated and regulated by light, all the way from fundamental mechanisms to what happens when they go wrong. And why people like myself, other scientists, get involved in Cheltenham is because it's one of the very few opportunities where we get to speak directly to the people who pay our wages, and I think that relationship is critically important.
Robert Winston made the point earlier on that he learns an awful lot himself from coming to the festival and talking to people.
Absolutely. I mean, that we had a discussion yesterday afternoon on cancer and stem cells, and the debate was absolutely superb, and many of the people who were presenting afterwards said, God, that was such great questions, and it made me think in a slightly different way. And as scientists, that's what you want. You want to be constantly challenged and think in novel ways.
Well, we'll talk about several subjects involving science this morning, and I thought one that would be interesting to start with is the situation that's been in Germany with the E. coli outbreak, and also other parts of the world as well, because people have travelled. The health minister in Germany says that whilst he can't give an all clear in this E. coli outbreak, an analysis of the latest numbers of new infections gives reason for hope that the epidemic's on decline. The cause of the contamination is still unclear. It's interesting because yesterday there was advisory. They were advising you not to eat cucumbers, still tomatoes, lettuce and vegetable sprouts in that area. Yesterday it seemed there was strong evidence that the source was from an organic bean sprout farm, but that's not clear today. Whilst talking to Robert Winston earlier on, he said that he thought if this was the case, it provided good evidence not to go organic.
I must say that when it was first announced, I thought to myself, great, there's a really good argument against organic farming. And I must say, events have transpired which proves that it almost certainly was organic farming that's done it. If you think about it, why people feel that they have to eat food which has been sprayed with manure has always worried me, because, of course, we will be, from time to time, terribly vulnerable to organisms which mutate like this, from the bowel of animals or from the bowels of humans.
So let's start with you on this one, Russell. Do you eat organic vegetables, or do you agree with what Robert Winston was saying about steering clear?
I'm broadly sympathetic to Robert's view. I don't go and pick out the organics. I mean, I just essentially think that the standard agricultural methods work and are fine, and I don't think they nowadays have harm on the environment. I think has been the major concern. I can see a place for organics, but in this case, I think one has to be very careful. I don't think we should sort of really make any pronouncements until we have the evidence. And when we know what the causation is, then we can do something about it. I would be very uneasy about sort of saying we shouldn't have organics. I think there's place for them, but personally, I don't eat organic.
And is that because you're worried about what could be on?
No, not at all. I just think that they're more expensive, and I don't think really you get what you're paying for.
Because I would be intrigued to know a little bit more about this, because the argument is, I suppose, using manures and things to fertilise organic fruit and vegetables, and that sometimes deadly bacteria could get through. And I don't know whether it's the case that after a certain amount of time these things break down before they get into the food chain, but I don't know what the science is behind that.
There was a bit on the radio yesterday or TV that said that they thought that manure had been used that was less than 2 years old, and in this country it's an established fact that manure has to be more than 2 years old. But I mean, I buy organic vegetables when they've come out of the ground. Things like carrots and potatoes, I particularly, for whatever reason, I don't want the chemicals, and I always worry about the hormones that are fed to beef and animals for food and stuff. I'm quite concerned, if you like, about chemicals, and sometimes I think money plays too big a part in farming and cutting corners and things, and I don't know, big business is there, and I worry about that.
So you choose to go organic then? Yeah.
On some things, not everything, but quite a lot of things, yes.
Because, of course, we have a very famous organic farmer in Gloucestershire, His Royal Highness, Prince of Wales. So and people will make the choice to buy his products as well. Vivian, how about you? Do you choose to go organic or not?
Well, I don't get involved in that decision. The food arrives in the kitchen, and that's about as close as I need to get to the supply chain, to be quite honest, Chris. But I think it's a matter of choice. I mean, people are more informed today, so they can make that choice, and it's entirely up to them. But I think, Russell made a point earlier. It's not actually proven yet where the problem is actually laid for sure. So we don't know. So it's all speculation. We already saw the speculation between Spain and Germany, and a little bit of political manoeuvring already. So it's a little bit difficult to make informed decisions at the moment.
That's one of the things that's been slightly depressing to see on newspapers and on television pictures, is thousands of vegetables and fruit just being discarded and thrown away.
Tragic,
that's the horrible thing, isn't it?
The media have stirred up a lot of problems as well, because I think the media have a lot to answer for in many ways, and I know you're part of the media, but some of the newspapers and some of the not quite so responsible radio stations, shall we say, are very keen to jump on the bandwagon and frighten people. And I think they have to learn to be more responsible, because it's caused massive problems for Spain financially, which will reflect on us through the EU. And, some of the farmers will go bankrupt, which is not their fault. And I think, there should be perhaps some more responsible reporting.
We'll talk about women's involvement in science and encouraging women to become involved in science as a profession next on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. It's 12 minutes to 11.